Well, finances are a critical component to any business because it's important to understand the overall financial health of a company, especially if it's a company that you work for. You want to really understand if it's in a good financial holding, especially if after examining the financial reports like the income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flows, to really get a good understanding of whether the company's in a good financial position. So the Securities Exchange Commission, or the SEC, is a government body that helps regulate the publicly traded companies. And with the regulation, it creates this level of transparency where publicly traded companies are required to file their financial reports with the Securities Exchange Commission on a quarterly and an annual basis. In addition to those filings, they're also required to file any types of changes in their stock issuance, and all of this information is available to the public because the government mandates that we must have a sense of transparency, especially for publicly traded companies. Now, you as a potential investor might go to the Securities Exchange Commission website to figure out which company will be best to invest in by looking through their 10K or their 10Q reports. The 10K report is the annualized report that has all of their financial data for an entire year's worth of history. And then a 10Q report is a quarterly report that encompasses 3 months worth of a company's data. So it's really important for you as a potential investor, but also if you're looking to make a decision to contract with a company, or if you're looking at 2 companies, the best way to evaluate the financial health of those companies is to visit the Securities Exchange Commission website and to look at the 10K reports for those 2 companies. Look at them side by side, do a comparison, read through the reports, especially the auditor's findings. That'll really help you make a good decision of which company would be best to, especially when it comes to some type of contracting situation. So from an operational perspective, looking at financial data is critical because it's important for you to understand that you need to look at the financial data in order to make the best decisions possible. You really need to look at the history of the company through their financial data to make a really good decision. And the reason why I recommend looking at the history is because you can identify trends. And just taking into consideration, we just had a recent change in our tax law here in the United States. And companies now are seeing the benefit of that change in tax law because they're paying a lot less in federal income tax. And because of that, you'll notice that the net income lines on the 10K reports have dramatically increased in 2018 in comparison to 2017. So looking at trends like this really is a benefit to you when you're making a financial decision to possibly contract with a company, or even to work with a company, or to invest in a company. So look at trends, look at their overall operations. You can identify things like that through their financial reports. Especially if you look at the statement of cash flows, you could tell what they're investing in, what kind of financing decisions that they're making, and of course looking at their overall operating decisions. And so by looking at those types of reports, you can really get a gauge of the direction that the company's heading in. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, you can look at the trends, make good decisions based on the financial reports. It's all there, and that's the best way I personally make my financial decisions. Is I look at all of the data that's provided. You know, if you really read through those 10K reports, it's going to tell you exactly what's going on with that company, and it tells you the full picture too, because it's an audited report by an independent auditor, and that really, to me, solidifies the data. A third party's telling them what's going on. And that, to me, as an investor or somebody who's making a financial decision, that's critical. You know, to get that third-party evaluation, that unsolicited, unbiased information in that 10K report, it's great. especially to me as a potential investor. I really want to know if this company I'm looking to invest in is on the right track. With the competitive landscape that we're in right now, there's so many different companies that are coming onto the marketplaces, especially the startups. There's a lot of startups out there now, and you'll notice that a lot of businesses fail because of their cash positions. And it also depends on how much debt that company's taken on. If a company's taken on a lot of debt as they're starting up, they're really starving the company from being successful because they have to service that debt. And so they can't make better investing decisions if they have a lot of debt to service. So you really want to get with a company that has a good handle on their debt situation, if they have any debt at all. Preferably, I would want to work with a company that doesn't have any debt, so that way they can use that additional cash flow to then work on other investing and financing decisions.